And before I start, to those viewers who have written to me disappointed that I've criticised Donald Trump, I hear you and I will respond to you, those I haven't written back to already, once I've dealt with the big news today. Just keep watching. And that news is Donald Trump slapping tariffs on our steel and aluminium exports to America. Now, I don't know how else to put this. This is spitting in the face of a friend. The Prime Minister was quite right today.
Such a decision by the Trump administration is entirely unjustified. This is against the spirit of our two nations' enduring friendship.
But there is a brutal lesson here that Anthony Albanese seems blind to. We now know what having Australia as an ally matters to this US president. I mean, we have fought in many American wars, in Korea, in Vietnam, Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iraq. Yet Trump still hits us with a 25% tariff on these things. I mean, that's really low. Trump even refused to take our Prime Minister's call over the past month, after making a fool of him last month by feeding him false hope in the only call they've had actually this year, that we would get an exemption.
I presented Australia's case for an exemption, and we agreed on wording to say publicly, which is that the US President agreed that an exemption was under consideration in the interests of both of our countries.
More fool him for believing it. Trump also shut out our ambassador, Kevin Rudd, which Peter Dutton jumped all over today.
It's obvious that Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd have had a shocker. The Prime Minister can't secure a phone call, let alone a meeting with the President of the United States. And how on earth can an outcome be negotiated if the President won't even take the Prime Minister's call?
I think that's too hard. I mean, I'm hearing it a lot, of course. Albanese should have gone and seen Trump. He should have kissed the ring, but Trump doesn't even want to speak to him. And you look what happened when Canada's Prime Minister, who's just quit, Justin Trudeau, went and crawled all over Trump at his home. And yet Canada got hit with even more tariffs than us. I think blaming Albanese for this is really just politics. I've seen nothing that tells me Trump would have spared us. Even so, and I'll say it again, Trump thinks of Kevin Rudd might be one issue. I mean, Rudd is damaged goods, our ambassador. Trump knows Rudd has insulted him as the village idiot and nuts, and Albanese should have begged for a Trump friend like billionaire miner Gina Reinhart, maybe, to go and act for Australia instead in this matter. She'd at least, I'm sure, have got a hearing from the President and heard the good news, or almost certainly bad. But more importantly, the big lesson. Have our politicians realised what this treatment we got actually means for our military defence? I don't think we can assume any longer that America's just going to come and save us. So if that's the case, we have to spend a lot more to defend ourselves, and spend it fast. I mean, Trump's team says we've got to spend 50% more. But all that said, too many people are treating what Trump's done to us as an economic disaster. This is terrible, shocking day for Australia. Get a grip. Trump's tariffs will hurt Americans more than us. The US is unlikely to stop buying our aluminium and steel, at least in the short term. Americans will just have to pay more for them. And our price, plus 25% for the tariffs of Trump. More fool them. So it's actually no wonder the US stock market, the benchmark S&P 500, has fallen 8% in the month. 8% as Trump imposes tariffs on friends and rivals alike, especially, though, on his friends. Now, I get it. Trump's plan is to make America great again by taxing imports and thereby getting America to build more of the stuff it buys from overseas.
The tariffs are going to be throwing off a lot of money to this country. And we've been ripped off for years by other countries, many, many decades. And they were doing the same thing. But I think we'll do it better. And I think we have a bigger advantage because we really are the piggy bank.
Well, I don't know. Trump wants more jobs, but I think it's unlikely his tariffs will actually make Americans richer. And what Trump forgets is that what has helped make America great are its friends. friends who do back it in war as well as in peace, friends who share its values and a bond. And I reckon his tariff war is going to cost him some of them. He's already turned Canada into a virtual enemy, and not just by imposing 25% tariffs almost across the board, but yesterday threatened to wipe out its car industry deliberately, and taunting Canada yet again to end that pain by becoming America's 51st state. Now, some countries are going to now figure that America's friendship isn't actually worth much. Some will turn more to China or trade more with that communist giant, making them more dependent on America's greatest rival. I think that should frighten Trump and us. Now, for Conservatives, there's now, given all this, a challenge. You know, some almost worship Trump and his tough guy act, and they will not hear a word against him. And I hear from some of them, very angry with me. And let me repeat, I like a lot about Trump's war on woke, and I've said it here very often. And I totally back his demand the rest of the West spends more on defence. But we now see that his plan to make America great again can mean make Australia poorer or more in China's grip. So we must speak up for our own country and not just his. If the Trump revolution fails, this blind worship of Trump power, that will taint Conservatives for a generation. I think it's time to be loyal not to the disloyal Trump, but to ourselves.